Oh, it's you, Tube. Well, welcome back once again to another episode of Hopper's Hot Rods. You're probably thinking, how do they crank these episodes out so quickly? Well, it's not easy, let me tell you. We strive for excellence. It takes fortitude to be completely undeterred by budgetary constraints and a complete lack of mechanical ability. To continue on rambling. Okay, prepare yourself. This video is going to be shocking. It's going to we're going to break stuff. It worked for Carrot Top. I don't want to give anything away, but there's going to be more progress done in this video than you probably expect. Not as much as you can imagine, and less than probably should be, but more than normal, somewhere in the confluence of those measurements. Now, when I finish riffing, I want you to, like, fade the music in quietly, and like as soon as I start walking backwards, it'll be more dramatic. You'll see. So I'll just ease out. See how that works? How it swelled up. Nice. You see what I mean? Huh? Okay. All right. Does this thing even work anymore? Or am I fading away? No. What about now? All right. It's been a couple days since we worked on the van, so let's do a walkthrough and reacquaint ourselves. I've got a list over here. I'm sure we need to update the list or make it longer. So let's stick our head under here and let's go down the list of things that it will take to fire off the engine, because honestly, you get tired of working on something that you can't hear run. So let's go in order of making it run. I know we got to connect the transmission lines, but let's see what else we need. Yeah, under the van. Here we are under the van. I think this light just more blinds me than helps me anyway, but okay, here's our transmission lines that we need to have. Transmission lines, they're going to go next to the engine, back to the transmission, and tie in right here. We obviously need exhaust, and shifter is connected. All the transmission wires are connected, but I noticed there's no plug in the bottom of the water pump housing, so we got to plug that. Otherwise, when we put coolant in, it's just going to fall out. So we need to make sure we put fluid in the power steering. Those hoses are connected. We need to put coolant in, so we need a top radiator hose. Good battery ground. I need to reroute these because they were obviously rubbing the last time. I can't, yeah, see, there's a big bare spot where apparently it rubbed on the harmonic balancer. So we got to make sure this is all secured. Here's this wire here that kind of goes behind the water pump. So, also I noticed the nut that holds the power steering arm on was loose. I mean, why do I even take it to an alignment shop if they're not going to look at these things? Also, these brake lines look okay, but when I put these pads on, some rusty looking crap came out of the bleeder, and it was really hard to depress the plunger in. So I'm replacing the calipers and the lines, because sometimes that'll keep fluid from going back correctly if they're all grody and crunched up. So we're going to replace those. But first we're going to hear the engine run. So instead of calling it the list to make the engine run, because I'm getting burned out working on it, I'd rather do something else, we're going to call it the list to get the engine running, to check the transmission to make sure it'll shift through the gears correctly, because somebody didn't take the drive shaft out when they towed it with a tow dolly. Some idiot, some moron. So we're gonna need upper radiator hose, rad hose, pipe plug in the water pump. You know, this will be better with some acoustic accompaniment and the lapse of time. Let me just do that here. Right, see, much less painful. Here's our list before we worry about the brakes and the shocks and putting the steering back together. I don't know, and all the other stuff. Radiator hose, pipe plug, transmission, but they're not in order. So let's just pick one that we can get to from under the car, like transmission lines. Let's do those. Well, 20 seconds in and we have our first departure from the plan. We were going to start with the transmission lines, but I don't have everything I need for that project. And of course it's after 9:30 at night because we burn the midnight oil here at Hopper's Hot Rods. So we're changing gears to something I have all the parts for. / I want to get the core charge money back for the brake calipers. Here's the passenger side stuff. Here's the driver side stuff. If you're ever confused, the bleeder screw mounts in the upward position to let air bubbles out. Here are the pads that I already installed on the crappy looking calipers. And since I'm replacing these two brake hoses, I'm going to go ahead and replace the rear brake hose just so they're all the same age. I start with the pullback so you can kind of see there's the van and that's the front of it that way, and then the back of it that would be the opposite direction. So you can see now where we are when we close in on the mechanics. This is the brake rotor. That was the brake. The other brake line, because the part numbers are on here, but it doesn't say right and left. So we will match it up before we install everything. Here is our fully loaded brake caliper. This is called a bleeder screw, and it goes up so that air bubbles can come out. And it's essentially, this big round thing is a piston. That's the piston. You hear the term 4 piston brakes. Well, this has one. This is a 1 piston brake. Apparently, that's all I need. That's what it came with. Seems like it's been stopping okay since 1989. And this fits on here like this. And then you get a couple of these special bolts. Now they're threaded only here because there's only threads right here, and that locates the brake caliper where it's supposed to be. And the whole assembly rides on these 2 pins, so you got to make sure there's a little lubricant on there. And if there's any wobble, this thing has the ability to move around left and right with the rotor. And and when it clamps, it pulls this part of the caliper that way, as well as pushes this pad this way. And when it releases, it can float in the middle and not cause much friction. All right, here we go with the connection here. Looks like it goes there, and then this will connect up to here, and that goes up there. So let's first take this off. And there are two copper crush washers, as you can see here, 1, 2, and that is a softer metal than the steel you would find. Brake line copper washer. Then we can fit it to the thing here, and that is 100% backwards from the way it should be. It should go this way, then this. It can only go one of two ways, so I should have this figured out within 3 or 4 tries. Maybe 5. It just goes right into place with no effort at all. See, it's pretty simple. You just couldn't be simpler. You just gently, mother scratcher, come on now. I took this bolt out of here, didn't I? I mean, this did come out of this. What the actual hell here? It's very, very low on the difficulty index. What the hell? I'm gonna say I'm gonna blame that the camera's in the way. How about that? It can't be that hard, can it? I mean, it's a hole that looks, you know, it's round. See? Matter of seconds. Oh man. And there we have it after just a few minutes. We've got new brake pads, new brake calipers. I gave it a quick zap with some Formula 409, but any grease emulsification spray will do. We have a new line that goes right up here and connects right here. Did I mention we got to reconnect the steering, because that's not attached to the other side? And of course under here where it happens to live, it would not be that easy to get a wrench to put any significant you know, wrenching on it. So I end up with a gigantic socket that is 1.25 inches or something, but that'll run it down nicely, and then we can move on to the next time-consuming, anticlimactic detail. Okay, here's a brief tutorial on how I'm going to make the transmission lines. I grabbed some 3/8 steel line from O'Reilly's. It comes in however long these are. These were the longest ones they had. They're 5 feet long. I grabbed 2 of them. They're not expensive. You don't need a lot of fancy tools for this. You get you a little tubing bender like this that helps you control the bend, tape measure, and I just grabbed a piece of wire and used it as sort of an envisioning tool, and I bent it and clipped it off to where really the 2 lines I need to run can both look like this, and helps it go around the starter and under the motor mount. So here's my bends, and all I have to do is oh, and I'm using the compression fitting at one end and a compression fitting with a barbed thing at the other. So I just have to cut off this flare, and for that you'll need a decent little tubing cutter, and that's it. I mean, you don't have to have a flaring tool. If you want to run it all the way up to the transmission, you can. And the You can get a couple of these adapters if you want to turn a 4L60 into a 700 R4 as far as the fittings. You can get those at Summit Racing for cheap. But we're just going to splice to what we got coming off the transmission, and this is the size that's coming off the transmission, so this is going to be boring, so I will elapse the time so I can listen to the music. There we go. Parallel lines coming from the transmission to the cooler. We will now go test fit them and install the compression fittings with the barbed. You install the compression nut, you install the compression ring, you slip on the barbed compression fitting, draw that all up together, and contra rotate these two until you secure a solid purchase on the steel line, and it crushes that little compression ring and seals it up really nicely. Welcome back to Hopper's Hot Rods, or in this case Hopper's Very Cold Rods. It occurred to me that there's a light dusting of snow on the ground, and what's the point of building old V8 rear-wheel drive cars if you don't try to destroy them as soon as there's any inclement weather? So we'll just do that. I had to put on a new shirt because I got a refreshing fuel shower when I powered up the van. We've been through the list. Look at it. Oh, it's beautiful. Look at everything we've got knocked out. That should be knocked out. And I even reprogrammed the computer. So all this is done. I don't have the brake master cylinder connected. I've got all the vacuum ports plugged just so we can see what kind of vacuum we're running before we start adding any accessories to it. Let's just see what happens, huh? You know, I went through the little startup wizard, but I did not recalibrate the throttle positioning sensor, and I don't think I put this spark plug wire back on. No, the rest of them look pretty good. Yeah, this was not tight and it sprayed fuel all over the place, but let's just kick this on here. Well, we got nothing so far. This is our readout, and what we're hoping to see is well, we'll see oil pressure up here. There's no oil pressure gauge connected here. This is the main vacuum. I've got it blocked off. The other vacuum goes to the Holley Terminator X Max Factor. So let's just see what happens. Well, we got oil pressure right away. It jumped right up. Let's try it again. Well, it does start. Why it died right away, I don't know. So let's go ahead and calibrate the throttle positioning sensor. I'm not an expert with this stuff, but I see this thing that says TPS auto set in the wizard here. So let's press that, make sure ignition is on and engine is not started. Hit start, slowly press the pedal to the floor, then slowly release. Do this twice. That's twice. Okay, TPS auto set was successful. Done. Now let's go back to our multi-gauge here. We're going to go ahead and turn the key off and give it a second and turn it back on. I don't know that that's necessary, but that's what I'm doing, so here we go. Still didn't idle. Let's just watch one more time to see if we have fuel pressure, see if anything weird happens. Okay. Battery voltage good. CTSF, what is that? Our air fuel ratio is way crazy high. So it's running super lean. We're going to see if we can, we'll go through the setup one more time to make sure we've got this set correctly. It runs. I guess I wasn't dancing around shouting, "Let's go," for whatever reason people do that when it first started, because it doesn't seem to want to idle. So we're going to pull the air filter off and we're going to crack open the throttle blade and check the IAC steps, which are supposed to be between 1 and 10, because right now they're between 99 and 100. So I think because the throttle blade is completely closed, it's an aftermarket throttle blade. You get the idea. Or if you don't, come closer and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's the plan. We're gonna take the air filter off here. Just a simple hose clamp holds this thing in place. I did clean and put new K&N filter oil on there. It's a Phytech 92 millimeter throttle blade here, throttle body. What do they call this thing? Yeah, throttle body. And it's got an adjustment screw right here. So my thinking is that if I just barely crack this thing, then the idle air control here will not have to work so hard. We're going to give it a try anyway. That's the plan. So without it even running, I'm just going to adjust this screw a little bit, because when I back it off, nothing moves. Well, I take it back. It did move a little bit. Let's just go from where it touches. Let's try one full turn in and go 2 full turns in. Did I do 2 full turns? Let's try it there and see what the IAC does. And every time I make this adjustment, I have to then recalibrate the throttle positioning sensor, because that then will be 0 and 100% will be all the way open. Well, I adjusted the IAC steps to smooth out the idle, and all that did absolutely nothing. So the next step is employ the technology available to us at this time. Perplexa.
Yes, Hopper.
Why does my Holley Terminator X Max Factor run like crap when it's trying to idle?
You probably have a vacuum leak.
Oh, well, that makes sense. How do I find a vacuum leak?
Do you have a cigar?
Yeah, I've got one right here.
Attach it to a piece of 3/8 tubing.
Well, it's connected to a piece of 3/8 hose on the plastic filter. Perfect.
Then smoke your intake with it.
All right, well, thanks, Perplexa. We're either going to find a vacuum leak with some smoke from a cigar running through a siphon pump, or we're going to look stupid and give this thing emphysema and intake tumors. Let's find out. This is the idea. I'm not even kidding. I saw it on the YouTube, so it must be true. You get one of these little siphon pumps, part number BR549er. You put the cigar in one end, which is what we'll do now, and then as you activate the siphon pump, it sucks the cigar and blows the smoke out the other tube, theoretically, allegedly, and into your intake manifold, making it very easy to find where your vacuum leak is leaking. So let's just see here. What's this? Man, these things stink. Whew. There's a machine that makes smoke to do this, but it's like 80 bucks. This was 89 cents, and I had one of these siphon pumps laying around. So, but you can go to Hobo Freight and get them. They're not expensive. That doesn't feel like it's going to work at all. There's our smoke machine right there. Let's just I haven't even lit it yet. It smells like a box of wet raccoon poop that you've microwaved for 90 seconds. Oh, if you smoke these, you're so cool. Oh, wow. Ah. All right, we're gonna light her up, maybe, and we should get some cancer out of this end. Let's just see what happens. We should get this will be the tumor maker. This will be the intake here. Why do I feel like I'm lighting up an M80? Well, it's certainly lit. Look at that. It's actually working really well. All right, let's hot box this thing into the intake manifold and see what happens. I might need to open the garage door. We are inside the van, and there's the back of the intake manifold, and here is our brake booster. So now, all we have to do is, hopefully, I apologize about the poor lighting quality, but the production crew doesn't work on the weekends, and I'm burning the midnight owls to get this done. So, in theory, I hotbox the thing. Let's pump some smoke in here and see if we can spot any vacuum leaks. See any yet? I'm gonna step over to the other side. Keep an eye out over here. Aha. Where was that coming from? I'm gonna bring you out here and see if you can see this. Looks like, to me, let's just see if anything comes out of there. It only took about this much of a cigar, and it looks like between the throttle body, which I taped up, and the intake, there's an O-ring that seals this piece to that piece. Maybe I forgot to put it on, maybe it's the wrong size, but that's where it looks like smoke is coming out. Well, here's the throttle body. This is the little rubber band that sealed it. And for whatever reason, it just didn't feel thick enough because there's a groove on the other piece. So I went to O'Reilly's and got a $17 slightly thicker rubber band. We'll see what happens. Going handheld. Okay, here's the front of the engine. This is where the throttle body lives. And that groove in the front of the intake is where the rubber band is going to go. That's where this thing went. And it worked before, but you know, I think I had a hard time getting to sit in there, so I smeared some grease in there to get it to kind of stick. Maybe it was just a little bit the wrong side, and the grease helped seal it when I ran it with the other engine. Whatever, we're gonna fit in here. I got one for a 2008 Trailblazer SS, and it is noticeably thicker. Yes, it's definitely sitting proud of the groove in the All right, old rubber band out, new rubber band in. Let's see what happens. Well, it turns out all I had to do was give up and go to bed and come back and take it all apart and put it all back together again. But now she's running just like a song. Idle's great. Idle's like a Cadillac sitting on top of a Rolls Royce. Take 22. You know, if you made it through this video, you're a trooper. Oh man, this one was kind of a drag on a lot of little stuff. The payoff is it runs good. The next video, which will be coming out more quickly, I've been kind of dragging my feet, but now my feet are motivated, start moving around. It's gonna be a driving video, get this thing on the road, see what falls off, put those back on, and then we got a couple of road trips, which I'm excited to do in some of these vehicles. Stay tuned, and you made it through this video. I can't believe it. What are you thinking? Go outside. It's a beautiful 12-degree day, or maybe it's 100. I don't know. Thank you for watching. See you next time.